Everyone's always chasing the big hitters. You know the ones, the Moonbreons, the Ponchos, the cards that cost as much as a used car. But if you've been watching the market lately, you know the real profit margins, the real unexpected gains often come from the cards that everyone else is ignoring. Welcome back to VegasCardDex. Today we're doing something a little different. I've combed through hundreds of sales, population reports, and auction data to find you 5 specific Pokemon cards that you can pick up right now for under 10 bucks. But here's the catch. These aren't just cheap cards. These are specific promos with low gem rates, unique release histories, and massive upside potential if you grade them. We're talking about turning a $3 or $7 card into a slab worth hundreds. And stick around to the end because I have a bonus pick that is definitely not under $10, but the data on it's so wild I couldn't leave it out. Now, before we get to the list, we need to talk strategy. A lot of people lose money in this hobby because they don't understand the math behind grading and selling. So let's break down exactly how we're calculating these numbers today so you know this isn't just hype, it's real math. Let's get serious for a second. When you see someone say this card is worth $500 in a PSA 10, that's usually the top line price, what the vendors sell for, or card stores sell for. It's not what actually lands in your pocket. For this video, I'm using a strict set of rules to calculate return on investment. First grading, I'm using a flat $25 per card fee as a grading cost. Yes, sometimes you can get cheaper bulk rates or special deals, and sometimes PSA will upcharge you based on declared value versus perceived value, but that upcharge is inconsistent and hard to predict. So for this breakdown, we're locking in 25 bucks per card across the board. Second, let's talk about what you realistically can sell a PSA 10 for. If you sell to a vendor at a show, a local card shop, or even move it on eBay after the fees, you're not going to walk away with 100% of the market price. Most realistic scenarios, you're going to net about 70 to 80% and as low as 50% at your local card store. For the video, to keep things clean and conservative, I'm going to assume that you can get 80% of the PSA 10 auction price when you sell. Third, where do these prices come from? I'm using the last sold PSA 10 auction prices from the PSA vault. Not the best offer, not buy it now, not fantasy listings, actual auction results. The last sale is what someone was genuinely willing to pay in that moment. PSA Vault also has an instant offer feature with no fees, but those offers are usually far below market value. You're trading away profit for convenience. In this video, we are assuming you are willing to do the work. List the card, ship it, and get closer to full market value. Basic formula, the total cost equals a raw price plus $25 grading. The estimated realistic sale is 80% of the last PSA 10 auction price. If the gap between those two numbers is wide enough, that card makes the list. With that in mind, let's start with an easy win. Our high gem rate play that shows you how this strategy works in a low risk way. We're kicking off the list with something very friendly for beginners, the Snorlax Sword Shield 119. This is a promo from the Chilling Rain 3-pack blister. You can pick it up raw for about $2 right now. What makes this card a great starter play is a gem rate. Out of 246 graded copies, 75 have come back PSA 10s, a gem rate of 31%, which is the highest on this list. The last PSA 10 auction sold for $182.50. There have been 193 TCG player sales in the last 3 months, so there is consistent demand for the raw card. So when you run the math, $2 for the card, 25 to grade it, you're all in for $27. The PSA 10 market price from last auction is $182.50. At 80%, your realistic take-home target is about $146. It's more than 5 times your total cost if you hit that 10. And with a 31% gem rate, you aren't taking on a crazy risk to get there. Now that you understand how the math works, with a relatively safe card, let's move into a fan favorite that combines strong branding with a much lower gem rate. Next up is a beloved Pokemon with a promo that a lot of people have slept on, the Eevee Sword and Shield 118. Right now you can buy this card raw for about $3. This Eevee comes from the Brilliant Stars 3-pack blister, another 3-pack blister card. And visually, it gives off that same kind of vibe as the Jolteon promo from the same 3-pack blisters that I featured in a video about a week and a half ago. With that distinct hollow pattern, it's got the sun rays coming down, almost like laser beams. In person, the pattern just pops off the card. Just alone, it's awesome in the binder. Looks even better in a slab, though. The last PSA 10 at auction closed on January 17th at $215.19. But check out the population data. PSA is graded 429 copies. Only 53 have come back PSA 10s. The gem rate is only 12%. That low gem rate is exactly why the PSA 10 commands such a strong price. Out of every 100 submissions, roughly only 12 make it to a 10. That difficulty creates scarcity. On the raw side, the card's moving. 317 TCG player sales over the last 3 months. Collectors are actively buying it. You're looking at $28 all in. Your PSA 10 value of $215.19 gives you a target of around $172. It's a huge multiplier on a $3 card. If you can identify truly clean copies, and if you like the Eevee play, we're going to come back to another Eevee later in the video. But first, let's take a detour into another extremely popular Pokemon from the same product as one of the craziest promos on this list. For card number 3, let's talk about a card that combines nostalgia, a special mechanic, and massive raw demand. The Mimikyu Delta Species Sword Shield 136. This card comes from the 25th Anniversary Celebrations Collector's Chest. Same product that includes another pick on our list later. Right now, you can pick this up for about $9 raw. A few months back in September, raw copies were closer to $20. And PSA 10s were selling for over $550 at auction. So the fact that a PSA 10 market has cooled down to $280.69, while the raw price is only $9, creates an interesting gap. The latest PSA 10 auction closed on January 18th, and it was the $280.69 sale. Population's higher than our earlier picks. 6,114 total graded. We have 1,726 PSA 10s. It gives it a gem rate of about 28%. Still not easy, but much more achievable than some of the monsters later on in this list. On the raw side, this card is incredibly liquid. 1,376 TCG player sales in the last 3 months. That is a lot of people moving in and out of this card. You're looking at $34 all in. The PSA 10 value of $280.69. You're looking at about getting $224 back when you take 80%. It's a very healthy margin, supported by a strong character appeal, massive sales volume. Now, if you like the fan favorite promo lane, let's swing back to another Eevee that plays a slightly different angle. Limited future supply. Card number 4 is our second Eevee on the list, but it brings its own unique story. It's the Eevee Sword and Shield 127. This promo comes from the Evolving Skies single pack blisters. Right now, the raw copies are sitting at about $2. Here's why the card is interesting from an investing perspective. Most of the remaining Evolving Skies blisters product right now is locked away in sealed collections. Outside of a few big names like Alex Ketchum or Deep Pocket Monster deciding to crack a bunch of blisters, we should not see a huge new wave of this promo flooding the market. The last PSA 10 auction closed on January 2nd at $212.50. The population of 650 total graded with only 123 PSA 10s. Gives us a gem rate of 19%. Not as brutal as some of the lower gem rate promos, but still very selective. This card has 257 TCG player sales in the last 3 months. So it's still moving, but it's not being absolutely hammered the way Mimikyu is. Now, the math. $27 all in. The auction price of $212.50 gives you a target of about $170 return on investment. It's an excellent return for a card that is currently very cheap and tied to one of the most beloved modern sets, Evolving Skies. But if you thought that was good, wait until you see what happens when you combine a beautiful promo with one of the lowest gem rates you will ever see. Card number 5 is the headliner of the under $10 list, and probably the craziest data point. The Light Toxicity Sword and Shield 137. It also comes from the collector's chest that Mimikyu's in that we just talked about. The artwork's awesome. The Light Toxicity is singing to 3 Oddish with that nostalgic light Pokemon feel. Current raw price is about $7. PSA has graded 2,424 copies. There are only 55 PSA 10s. It's a gem rate of just 2%. 2% is insanely low, especially with over 2,000 copies submitted. That means this card is incredibly difficult to grade in a 10, and that difficulty is precisely what drives the high PSA 10 price. The last auction for PSA 10 was back in August, and it sold for $830. Another auction shortly before that, August 10th, sold for $791.22. And with that low number of PSAs, it's going to be few and far between with seeing actual sales at auction. There's also a recorded PSA app sale as a best offer on January 3rd for $956.07. Again, it's not an auction, but it does confirm that the demand is strong. On TCG Player, there are 708 raw sales in the last 3 months. So there's plenty of movement in the raw market. Now the numbers. $32 all in. Using that $830 auction, 80% of that is about $664 as a realistic exit. It's a classic high risk, high reward modern promo. The gem rate's brutal, but the payoff is enormous on a successful 10. And if you like that kind of risk reward profile, then you are going to love our over budget bonus pick that takes this concept to another level. Now, for the over budget bonus, this one is not under $10, but the opportunity is too good to ignore. Gengar Sword and Shield 52. It comes from the Champions Path Special Pin Collection. Gengar is one of those Pokemon that almost always holds premium value, especially in PSA 10, and that trend holds here. Right now, the raw price is around $84, down from $95 in the fall. But look at that graded price. A PSA 10 is currently selling for $1,325. Population-wise, PSA is graded 2,640 copies, and only 321 of those are PSA 10s. That puts the gem rate at a paltry 12%. Again, low enough to keep the 10s rare, but not impossible. There have been 39 TCG players in the last 3 months. It's not changing hands as rapidly as the lower price promos, but that is normal at this price point. So the math, you're looking at $109 total cost. That last auction price of $1,325 at 80%, you're looking at $1,060 as a realistic exit. It's roughly a $950 profit on a single card if you hit that 10. It isn't a budget play, but for experienced graders who know how to pre-screen their copies, this kind of card can be a centerpiece of a grading submission. So to recap, we've walked through 5 of the best Pokemon card promos under $10 to invest in right now, plus that Gengar bonus play. We started with the Snorlax as a higher gem rate, beginner-friendly grading target. Then we moved into the Eevee Sword and Shield 118 and 127, 2 promos with strong character appeal. From there, we looked at Mimikyu, a card with huge raw demand, and we finished with the under $10 list with Light Toxicity, the 2% gem rate monster. Finally, we closed with the over budget Gengar for those high rollers. Across all of these cards, the strategy stays the same. Understand your total cost by adding the raw price and the realistic $25 grading fee, compare that to about 80% of the latest PSA 10 auction price, because that's closer to what you will actually walk away with. Before you click off, I want to share one more important number with you. 62% of the people watching this channel right now are not subscribed. If you found value in this video, if the specific gem rates, population data, and ROI breakdowns helped you think differently about promos and grading, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join the community. Subscribing and setting notifications helps my channel grow and reach more people like you who are trying to make smarter decisions with their Pokemon card investing. Thanks for watching VegasCardDex. Good luck with your next submission, and I'll see you in the next video.